Hello, goose and goblins. Hello, Mary.
Hello. How are you?
Good. I
Good.
decided to wear my hoodie tonight because I'm a bit chilly down in my studio.
Well, I'm here to tell fortunes.
I see that, and I'll be here
Mhm.
for my fortune here in a wee bit.
I will be. I will be.
Do you like my mustache?
Oh, it is very becoming. Very becoming.
Well, this is going to be the most fun ever, and I hope people. I know not a lot of people saw it and bought tickets to it because everything online is free these days. So we just went ahead and made it available to everybody because we the whole point of this is to donate and save the entertainment agency Mid America Artists. We lost everything because of the pandemic, and literally we're in trouble. So we hope people donate to the link that you'll see right on the bottom of your screen right now. You can donate to PayPal at NEHOF or that email address info at nebraskaperformingarts.com or Venmo at Nebraska Arts. We so appreciate it. And I've compiled a ton of my favorite friends and incredible artists, including Mary Douglas, the great Mary Douglas.
Omniscient. So good.
And
Very nice. Very
and
nice.
she's so fantastic. This whole night is just going to be brilliant. And I've it was so beautiful to do a run through and a rehearsal and see everybody. It's just going to be great. So, Mary, do you have anything to say?
No, I'm just here to tell people's fortunes. So whatever you need, Michael,
Oh, well,
to tell your future.
just so everybody's aware, you can comment on the video that you're watching right now and we will answer. So if somebody wishes to have their fortune read, we have a fortune teller that we paid for. She's on staff. Her name is Mary Douglas, and she will give you a fortune.
I will. I will. And now I foretell that soon Elizabeth Govaerts is going to come and tell a story.
Wonderful. Shall we invite her on?
I think we shall.
Hi, Beth. It's all
Hi,
you.
Mary.
Hi, Beth. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself, Miss Beth?
Well, take
Yes,
go ahead and take it over. We'll give you the show.
I'm Beth Govaerts. I am a lawyer by day, sometime actress, and am happy to support Mid America Artists, a wonderful organization that does so much for the Nebraska actors and performers. I'm going to tell you a little story about my family. Saunders County is notorious for paranormal activity. I grew up in Wahoo, which is the county seat, and almost everyone I know has experienced a ghost or hauntings, even that continued over years and generations, or completely unexplainable phenomenon that can only be explained by metaphysics. If you're ever in Wahoo, you really should ask someone about it. It's really interesting. I'm going to tell you the story about my family's experience with our haunted house. My great grandfather had been a banker during the Depression, lost everything. My great grandmother was one of the first women actually to graduate from the University of Nebraska. My great grandmother was an only child, and she had my grandmother, who was an only child, who had my mom, who was an only child. And my daughter and I are both the only women in our generation. The common thread among the five women in this family, besides the fact that we all look almost exactly alike, are that we have all of us very extreme intuition. We all tend to be really tuned into other people in our environment more than other people seem to be. My grandma Ruby was one of the most intense people that I have ever known. And if anyone was going to attract beings that existed in another dimension, it was her, because she was so tuned in to everything in a very extreme way. My great grandparents' house was this huge old Victorian on a corner lot, and it was built around the turn of the century. My great-grandparents lived and died in it, and I should tell you that both of them committed suicide in that house about 40 years apart. Then my grandparents lived in it when I was a kid, and my brother and I spent many summers there, and it was one of my very favorite places to be. As long as I can remember, though, I experienced very weird things whenever I was in that house. Um, it felt oftentimes like somebody was in the room with me when there wasn't anyone there, or these bad, strange smells would just come and go quickly. Things would happen like the doors would open and close by themselves, things would fall off the walls, but it was nothing that ever particularly scared me. In fact, my grandma and I would joke about it and say, oh, that's just the ghost. Until one summer night when I was about 10 years old, and I was sleeping in the room that used to be my mom's when she was a little girl. I was startled awake with the feeling that someone was standing beside me. I was absolutely terrified, and I had the sense that whatever it was very, very angry. And I was totally frozen. I couldn't even turn my head. I was staring straight ahead, and I can see my brother asleep in the bed across the room. And then up the wall, right by his head, crawled this light. And it went up the wall and started circling the ceiling. And then I could see that the curtains in the room were blowing out and the rocking chair was rocking. But all of the movement going on was not organic, like, say, if the wind was blowing. It seemed angry, like somebody was kicking things and throwing things around. And then, after what seemed like forever, it just abruptly stopped. I was terrified, crying, running into my grandparents' room, hysterical. And of course, my grandmother, the sweetest person, was so comforting and told me all the right things, that I was fine and that, nothing would hurt me. But what she didn't say was that I'd just been dreaming, or it was my imagination. And it was 100% clear to me that she knew exactly what I'd seen, because it was clear to me that she'd seen it before too. Eventually, my family moved to Wahoo when I was a teenager. We lived right across the street from my grandmother. Unfortunately, just within months of us moving there, my grandfather had a heart attack while he was walking up the stairs to bed and died. So that was the third person to die in the house. About a month after his death, my brother and I looked out our upstairs window to see this orange glowy figure walking on the roof of my grandmother's house. And we both saw it, and we both stared at it and thought, what optical illusion is this? Is it from the street light? Is it the moon reflecting on something? We looked and looked, and the movements were so human. And this thing was pacing back and forth, glowing orange. We looked and looked, and it just stayed there. The next day, we were over at my grandma, sitting at her kitchen table, talking about my grandpa, who, remember, had recently died. And she said, I had the strangest dream last night. I had a dream your grandfather was up working on the roof, and he was wearing orange coveralls. My brother and I just looked at each other and totally freaked out. And we told her, about what we'd just seen last night, that this figure in orange walking on the roof. And that was the first time that we'd ever had a frank discussion about what the heck was going on in that house. And my grandma was really candid about it. She told me that there had been presences there for years. She was very aware of them. There were lots of different entities there, that she never felt like they were hostile or that they would cause her any harm. And she had just sort of learned to live with it. Many, many years later, and many, many other strange occurrences later, when my grandma was really elderly, she fell in her bathroom and she lay on the floor for a good day before somebody found her. She was taken to the hospital with a broken hip, and I, of course, rushed immediately up to Wahoo from Lincoln to see her in the hospital. The paramedics, of course, had brought her in, so she didn't have anything she needed with her. And so she sent me over the house to get her things, but especially her glasses, because she was completely blind without her glasses. And she told me exactly where they were going to be. She said they were either going to be on the sink in the bathroom or right below the sink on the floor, because she had them when she fell, and that when she had fallen, she reached all around for them and she couldn't find them, but she had just had them on. So I go sprinting over the house to get them. As I walk up to the back of the house, I could see that there was this janky old robin standing by the back door. And as I got closer and closer, it wasn't fluttering away like normal birds do. It was just standing there. And as I got even with the door, I could see that it was dead and rotting, and it was just standing there on its feet. And I just got this terrible feeling of dread. As soon as I walked through the door to the kitchen, I just absolutely knew somebody was in the house. I got this rush of adrenaline and chills throughout my body, and the house was like literally buzzing with energy. And I thought to myself, I'm grabbing those glasses and I'm getting the hell out of here. So I walk up the stairs to where the bathroom is at the top of the stairs. And I see that the door is closed. And frankly, it struck me as odd. Why is the door closed? They carried her out of there on a stretcher. Why would they have taken the time to shut the door? And I made myself finish going up the stairs and go up to it and opened it. And what met me was this sick, terrible smell, like nothing that I'd ever smelled before. And the whole floor was covered with flies. Now, my grandmother and the paramedics were just there a matter of hours before. Nobody said anything about flies. It was winter. There was not a single window open in the house. And so there is no place natural that those flies, hundreds of them, could have come from. And I just turned around and just went running down the stairs through the house and into the kitchen, where I stopped dead in my tracks, because on the kitchen table were my grandmother's glasses. And I had come in through that door and walked right by that table, and those glasses were not there when I came in. I grabbed them and ran out of the house. Now, there's a little epilogue to this story. My grandmother was never able to go back to the house. My parents ended up moving her down to a care home in Tulsa where they live so they could all be close together. And we sold the house. And the people that bought the house undertook this huge remodel. The house had never really been touched before all these years, except at some point somebody added indoor plumbing, but mostly it was just all original. And the new owners were nice enough to invite my mom over to see what they had done. And they had done this just a beautiful job with it. And there was this new gourmet kitchen. And so my mom said, "Oh, this is so beautiful. My mom would have just loved this." And they said, yes, it's great, but the ghost just hates it. And apparently, every time they had done any kind of demolition during the night, the ghost would completely just wreak havoc with the work site, to tip over cans of nails, move all the tools to different rooms. Sawhorses would be tipped over. And after the people moved in, the ghost would like pull all kinds of shenanigans at night. For instance, they'd been trying to hang the shelf in the same place over and over again, and it always would fall off in the middle of the night. And eventually they just had to find another place to put it because it just would not stay up. And another thing that happened is that they would smell cigar smoke at night. And when the cigar smoke would come, they could hear all the doors creak open downstairs, one by one. When my grandmother died a short time later, the new homeowner told us that everything stopped the day she died. And there was nothing more ever after that. It just ended. And I like to think that that's just my grandma keeping everybody in line. The end.
My goodness gracious. Oh my gosh, the glasses on the table got me good, Beth.
That was a nice touch. I
Yeah.
didn't know that. Even though I'm a
Wow.
fortune teller, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Well, thank you so much. That was great.
You are so welcome.
That was
Is the house
fantastic.
still standing, Beth? Is it still there?
It's still there. Yeah.
And people are living in it now, yeah?
Yeah. People are living in it ghost free at this point.
Oh
Because of
my
your
goodness.
grandmother.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. That was wonderful. Beth,
Thank you, Beth.
thank
Thanks
you
for
so
including
much.
me, guys.
All right. Have a good night, honey. We'll talk to you
Awesome.
soon.
You too.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, we're going to do something extremely fun, and I haven't actually connected with Mr. Steve Shields in many years. He and I
Ooh.
went to college together, and he's been out in Los Angeles as a professional actor for many years.
Nice.
Yes, he graduated with a BFA at UNL in 1994. He went on to UCLA for his master's in 2001 and then fell off the face of the earth until a few years ago, being cast in Manos returns as Torgo in the sequel to Manos, The Hands of Fate.
Ooh.
So I am so honored to introduce Mr. Steve Shields. Take it away, Steve. There he is.
I got muted. I don't know how I did that. You can hear me now, right? Okay. So let me preface this by telling you that what I'm about to tell you would fall into the category of scary story. This isn't a ghost story. It's a real story. It's something I can't forget. I've spent my whole life up to now, convincing myself that it didn't happen, that it was like a dream, but it's actually a curse that still haunts me to this day. I've never told anybody this story, and by the end, I'm sure you'll understand. You'll see why. You'll be like me, and you'll understand. Or maybe a little blurry on the facts. I was only 13. It was 1983. I remember it was a fall night like tonight. It was cool, only light jacket weather. Fall nights in Lincoln were always the darkest, I remember. Shadows were purple and hazy and hid secrets. I biked to downtown Lincoln to meet up with my friends Timmy and Herbie. They recently moved away from Bethany, and downtown was like a halfway point for us to meet up and play. Now, Timmy was Herbie's older brother. Timmy was an athlete. He wound up being the starting running back for Lincoln High by his sophomore year. He was quiet. Herbie, on the other hand, was a little crazy. He was loud. He had a strange laugh. Sounded a little like a gorilla crossed with a hyena, but he was just a weird kid. And we parked our bikes near Morrill Hall and played catch on the campus of the university. We played catch until Timmy that night said he and Herbie had to go home. Now, I had the furthest to go, and I asked him to bike home with him that night so I could call my parents for a ride. We didn't have cell phones back then, of course. My friends lived in what was later to be called the Highlands. Back then, it was just a bunch of prefab homes built out in the middle of nowhere. In 1983, Lincoln didn't extend much past Pioneers to the south and Cornhusker Highway to the north. We biked to their place on Superior Street back when it was just being finished, and it dead ended on a curve. It was like the road wanted to go further, but it couldn't. The dead end curve had just enough room for a kid with a bike to push through. It was guarded on one side by traffic barriers and on the other side by these thick bushes. And after squeezing through the opening, you exited out onto a dirt road and into a wasteland. This was not the first time I biked to their home. This was not the first time I biked this late at night with them, or the first time we'd even used the dead end curve as a shortcut. But this was the night we saw the light. It was a purple glow far away in the distance. It was a bug zapper and it was lighting up like crazy. It was mesmerizing, alone in the middle of an undisturbed wilderness just north of downtown. Moths were being drawn into it by the dozens, mosquitoes by the hundreds. The light show was hypnotic. Herbie jumped off his bike. Cool, let's go check it out. Before his brother or I could say anything, he'd already abandoned his bike in the ditch on the side of the road and started crawling up the embankment. It was so dark that night, we lost sight of Herbie almost as soon as he hit the bank. Timmy called out for Herb to stop. Now, we could hear him snapping twigs and pushing through small branches, but we couldn't see him. We knew he'd get lost, and so we went in after him. The bushes and brush seemed endless, and I struggled with them. And it wasn't until Timmy started shouting in whispers for Herbie that I noticed my breath was short and panicked. Timmy whispered nervously for Herbie to stop jerking around and come back. Herbie didn't reply. We stopped and listened. We didn't hear him anymore. We pushed up a small hill into a clearing of wild trees. I looked back and I saw nothing, not even ambient streetlights. Eventually, my eyes adjusted enough to make out a shape in front of me. It was a small, two-story abandoned house in the middle of nowhere. The bug light was hanging under the eave of the front porch. There was no sign of Herbie anywhere. That's when Timmy and I heard the creaking. At first, we could barely hear it. It was faint. It was inside the house. Then, out of nowhere, the bug light snapped off. We were consumed in complete darkness. A sharp chill ran up my spine and all my hair started to tingle. My skin rose in bubbles everywhere as I tried to make sense of how the light had turned off. Did it burn out? Was it on a timer? Did someone actually live here? Are they watching us? The creaking continued as if the house itself was wheezing. Then it stopped. The dark night took on a mantle of choking silence. Then a light from inside the house suddenly turned on and dimly leaked through the curtained windows. I remember hoping it was only Herbie trying to scare us. Then I heard the scariest sound I've ever heard in my life. Feed me. My skin is prickling right now as I tell you this. Feed me. I'm hungry. Won't you please feed me? It wasn't Herbie. Feed me. I remember the voice like it was today. I wanted to run and I couldn't. My legs froze stiff. Little boy, feed me or he dies. Timmy leaned into me. I'll go get help. You go inside. Are you nuts? I'm not going in.
Hey, Steve. 1 second. Sorry, buddy. Can you unmute your mic, please? Thanks.
I gotta take my headsets off. They're the ones that they're interrupting this. God, such an account.
We lost you for about 30 seconds then.
You know where it was?
Sorry. Do you remember what last thing I said?
You were basically saying, feed me.
Oh, bummer. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Shoot.
Right
I don't
after
know
you
what
said
I-
it, right after you said
I'll
I'm
try
not,
back
right after you said I'm not going inside.
I had to write it all down, of course. Timmy had already, let me see here. Yeah, Timmy had already snuck away and disappeared into the night. I walked up to the open front door and stepped into the entryway of the house. The light inside was dull and unwelcoming. On my right was the kitchen. All the cabinet doors had been ripped off their hinges. There was this horrible dead smell coming from the opened refrigerator. Little boy, come in. I couldn't move. Come in now. I didn't want to see this voice. I wanted to be home. I wanted to be asleep under my Spider-Man blanket. I wanted it to be morning and to forget we ever saw the light. I shuffled into the living room and saw a skinny, emaciated man on a chair. Beside him was an exposed floor lamp. He held a gun in his hand and it was pointed at Herbie, who was on his knees. He kept bobbing back and forth in his seat as if he were keening. Brother? I froze. I was unable to speak. Herbie, to his credit to this day, I don't know how he knew that Timmy had gone for help, but he must have known because he nodded yes to the man. Brother, how sweet. He was pale, translucent like a pink sheet left out too long in the sun. He had thick glasses which made his eyes glow. His skin was so taut he looked desiccated. There were empty jars of pickles and canned fruit scattered all over the room. It looked as though he'd been in the house for at least a couple of days. He was wearing a heavy, tattered white jacket with long arms and strange buckles. It was shredded into strips. There were other details I remember about him, but the one I recall the most were his teeth. They were like horse teeth with wide gaps near the gums, yellowed and stained brown and too large for his face. I smell piss. Did you piss yourself, boy? I had. Oh. No, look what you've gone and done. Who's going to clean it up? He looked at Herbie and then back at me. Certainly not me! Do you have any food for me, brother? I'm so hungry. I reached into my jacket, hoping to find a mint or a piece of gum. After several seconds of digging, the man grew impatient. If you do not find food, brother, I will eat one of you. Herbie laughed. It was a gut reaction, a laugh of incredulity. The man grew very quiet and very serious. Do you know what flesh tastes like with the blood drained out? A nice roasting over an open flame crackles the skin and creates a crust. Well, I do. But if you are hungry enough, skin tartar. He raised his gun and put it against Herbie's temple. I went blank. I remember opening my mouth and saying something. Words came out. I remember Herbie turning pale blue. I remember the man then pointing his gun at me. I remember his horse teeth, his grinning horse teeth. All I could think in that moment was how sad my parents would be. Then there was this loud crack, and everything went dark. I woke up on the floor with an EMT beside me. She was talking softly to me. The house was brighter. Blue and red lights were flashing everywhere. Herbie was on the floor next to me, holding my hand. He was standing behind me, talking with a police officer. Two large police officers were holding the man down in his chair. I watched him spit and scream as men in white coats came in to restrain him. They pulled off his tattered jacket, put on a new one, and strapped him into a gurney. It was the first time I had ever seen a straitjacket. I overheard the police tell Timmy that the man was an escapee from the regional center and how lucky Timmy was to have flagged her down on I-80. The man screamed at the doctors restraining him. Once they had him fully strapped down, they tilted him up and I could see there was a gunshot wound seeping blood through his shoulder. He shouted to the sky, "I wasn't always like this! It wasn't always like this! It's a curse! A curse!" Then he slowly and deliberately lowered his head and looked at all three of us. "I turn this curse over to you. One of you, like me, will die in darkness. One of you will be strapped, motionless, like me. One of you will become exactly like me." Like me. He kept repeating it over and over, like me, like me, like me, until they closed the ambulance and finally drove him away. Oh, I've never told anyone. Herbie died later that year, just after Thanksgiving. He was only 12. It was a freak accident. He slipped on some ice, hit his head, went into a coma. He never woke up. Timmy's senior year at Lincoln High, he was tackled so viciously that he severed his spinal cord at the neck. They say he got lucky. It was only paralysis. As for me, I turn this curse over to you. You will all be exactly like me. Like me. Like me.
Wow.
I don't that was unbelievable. Unbelievable. Oh my gosh. I am freaking
I didn't see
out.
that coming.
Steve Shields, ladies and gentlemen. Let's welcome him back. Thank you so much, Steve. That was incredible. Wonderful. Okay, we got to move on with the show. I will call you later, and we're going to discuss that. Thank you so much. I love you, buddy. I
Thank
love you, buddy.
you.
Take care, my friend.
Thanks for the curse. Awesome.
Yeah, thanks for the curse.
Thanks. Appreciate that.
Okay, let's move the show. I hope everybody's having fun. Please comment in and tell us that you love this, because I'm having so much fun. This is unbelievable. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's get Katy on. Mary, I'm going to let you introduce Katy, okay? Okay.
Okay, sure. Next, we have Katy Morehouse, who is one of the. Hello, Katy.
Hello.
Hi. I would like to say I discovered Katy. I wish that I could say that I had, but I discovered her talent when I saw her in a play. I don't even remember which play it was, but every time I've seen her perform, she's just amazing. And so I sought after her, and specifically for the agency and also for this ghost story. Katy hails from Chicago, and she's been in Lincoln a few years, and we are very lucky to have her. Without further ado, Miss Katy.
Thank you. So I am consider myself lucky that I don't have an actual ghost story that's happened to me, because I wouldn't be able to handle it, because I do believe in spooks, and then I wouldn't be able to live for the rest of my life because I'd be terrified all the time. So when Mary asked me to do this, I decided to go back to that classic scary stories to tell in the dark. Now, this particular story is actually from more scary stories to tell in the dark. It was one of my favorites growing up. This is called Clickety Clink. An old lady got sick and died. She had no family, no close friends. So the neighbors got a grave digger to dig a grave for her. And they had a coffin made, and they placed her in her living room. As was tradition, they washed her body and dressed her up in her best clothes and put her in the coffin. When she died, Her eyes were wide open, staring at everything, but seeing nothing. The neighbors found 2 old silver dollars on her dresser, and they put them on her eyelids to keep them closed. They lit candles and sat up with her so that she would not be too lonely on the first night that she was dead. The next morning, a preacher came and said a prayer for her, and then everybody went home. Later, the gravedigger arrived to take her to the cemetery to bury her, and he stared at the silver dollars on her eyes, and he picked them up. How shiny and smooth they were, how thick and heavy. They're beautiful, he thought. Just beautiful. He looked at the dead woman. With her eyes wide open, he felt she was staring at him, watching him hold her coins. It gave him a creepy feeling. He put the coins back on those eyes of hers to keep them closed. But before he knew it, his hands reached down again, grabbed the coins, and stuck them in his pockets. Then he grabbed a hammer and quickly nailed shut the lid of the coffin. Now you can't see anything, he said to her. Then he took her out to the cemetery and he buried her as fast as he could. When the gravedigger got home, he put the 2 silver dollars in a tin box and shook it. The coins made a cheerful rattling sound, but the gravedigger wasn't feeling cheerful. He couldn't forget those eyes looking at him. When it got dark, a storm came up. The wind started blowing. It blew all around the house. It came in through the cracks and around the windows and down the chimney. Shh. It went. And the fire flared and flickered. The gravedigger threw some fresh wood on the fire, got into bed, and pulled the blankets up to his chin. The wind kept blowing. It went. And the fire flared and flickered and cast evil-looking shadows on the walls. The gravedigger lay there, thinking about the dead woman's eyes staring at him. And the wind blew stronger and louder, and the fire flared and flickered and popped and snapped, and he got more and more scared. And suddenly, he heard another sound. Clickety-clink, clickety-clink. It went clickety-clink, clickety-clink. It was the silver dollars rattling in the tin box. Hey! The gravedigger shouted. Who's taking my money? But all he heard was the wind blowing, and the flames flaring and flickering and snapping and popping, and the coins going clickety-clink, clickety-clink. And he leapt out of bed and chained up the door. Then when he hurried back, but his head barely touched the pillow when he heard clickety-clink, clickety-clink. And then he heard something way off in the distance. It was a voice crying, "Where's my money? Who's got my money? Ooh, ooh." And the wind blew, and the fire flared and flickered and snapped and popped, and the money went clickety-clink, clickety-clink. And the gravedigger was really scared. He got out of bed again and pulled the furniture against the door and put a heavy iron skillet over the tin box. And then he jumped into bed and the covers pulled them over his head. And then the money rattled louder than ever. And way off, he heard a voice cry, "Give me my money. Who's got my money? Who? And the wind blew and the fire flared and flickered and snapped and popped, and the gravedigger shivered and shook and cried, "Oh no, no." And suddenly the The door flew open and walked in the ghost of the dead woman with her eyes wide open, staring at everything but seeing nothing. And the wind blew, whoosh, and the money went clickety-clink, clickety-clink, and the fire flared and flickered and snapped and popped, and the ghost of the dead woman cried, "Where is my money? Who's got my money? Ooh, ooh." And the gravedigger moaned, "Oh no, oh no." And the ghost could hear the money going clickety clink, clinkety clink in the $10, but her dead eyes couldn't see the box. So she reached out her arms and tried to find it. And the wind went and the money rattled clickety clink, and the fire flared and flickered and snapped and popped, and the gravedigger shivered and shook and moaned, "Oh no, oh no." And the old woman cried, "Give me my money. Who's got my money? You've got it!" The end. Gotcha.
And the moral of the story is don't steal.
Don't take people's stuff.
No, just don't. Just say
Not
no
that
to
hard.
stealing.
Not that hard. Just don't take people's stuff.
Don't take people's stuff. Even if they're dead, don't take their
Even
stuff.
if they're dead, it's not yours.
No, not
Don't
your
take it.
right.
It's a moral. It's a parable, really.
Well done, lady. That was awesome. Well done.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Okay, let's move the show right on. We'll talk to you later, Katie. These are all Nebraska artists, ladies and gentlemen. They're actors, they're writers, they're performers, they're songwriters, they're singers. Give them donations, help them out. If you help the agency out, you're helping them out. So, because we put them to work, and that's how it works, folks. So, okay, let's get Mr. Randy Hawthorne. Let's see if he's available. There he is, ladies and gentlemen. Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay.
Mine's a little short and sweet.
Well, that's
so
okay. That's okay.
It should give them a little breather.
Hi, Randy.
Hello.
Thank you for sharing a spooky story with us.
No, certainly.
I predict it's going to be really creepy.
It could be. It's fast. I mean, it turns quick.
It does. That's okay. That's okay. We think we're going on the yellow brick road, and then whoops! No, look, we're not in Kansas anymore.
Yep. Here we go. One night, a young boy woke up to the sound of footsteps outside his bedroom door. Knowing he would get in trouble if his parents knew he wasn't sleeping, the boy just barely opened his eyes to see who was outside his door. With a shock, the boy realized that a man had come into the house and had murdered his parents. The sound that had woken him was the intruder dragging his parents' bodies past the boy's bedroom. The man looked over and saw that the young boy was asleep in his bed. And rather than flee the scene, the intruder dragged the boy's parents into the boy's room and propped their corpses against a chair in the corner of his room. The boy kept pretending he was asleep as the murderer used his parents' blood to write a message on the wall. After the message was finished, the intruder got on his hands and knees and crawled under the boy's bed. Scared out of his mind, the boy remained still under his blankets, trying to peer through the darkness to read the message. After an hour or so, the sky outside began to lighten, and the boy could finally read what the murderer had written on the wall. "I know you're awake."
Very creepy.
And very quick.
Yeah, that's okay. It need to be longer. I mean, really. So the murderer kills your parents, hides in your bed, and writes a creepy message on your wall. That's really
Wow.
all the things.
Yes.
Is covered.
It
Nice
just
to
made
meet you.
just made my mustache change shape. I don't know if anybody saw that. Anyone see that it changed shape a little bit? That was incredible. Thank you so much, Randy
You
Hawthorne.
bet. Good to see you
Fantastic.
all.
Okay, buddy. Have a good night. Thanks so
All
much.
right.
for
Thank
participating.
you. Good job, Randy.
Oh my goodness gracious, we are moving right. Hey, I want to do some. Okay, so this next fella, he works for us quite a bit. We've put him to work on some commercials, and
Mhm.
he's an incredible actor, super funny guy. Let's
He's also a professor at wait, is it Ryan that's next?
yeah,
Yeah, he's also a professor at Wesleyan and
professor at Wesleyan.
professor.
Here he is, Ryan Kathman. Hi, buddy.
Yay!
Hello. Hello. Good evening.
Kathman.
All Hallows
Fantastic.
Eve.
All Hallows Eve.
Hallows Eve.
Okay, you've got the performance stage, my friend. Have fun.
I'll do what I can. Thank you. So this next story comes from the writer Roald Dahl, famous for such terrifying, spine-tingling novels as Matilda, the Big Friendly Giant, and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. That one is kind of scary, actually. So it's just called The Wish. The Wish. Here we go. And Roald is British, so you'll have to indulge me here. Under the palm of one hand, the child became aware of the scab of an old cut on his kneecap. He bent forward to examine it closely. A scab was always a fascinating thing. It presented a special challenge he was never able to resist. Yes, he thought, I will pick it off, even if it isn't ready, even if the middle of it sticks, even if it hurts like anything. With a fingernail, he began to explore cautiously around the edges of the scab. He got a nail underneath it, and when he raised it, but ever so slightly, it suddenly came off. The whole hard brown scab came off beautifully, leaving an interesting little circle of smooth red skin. Nice. Very nice indeed. He rubbed the circle and it didn't hurt. He picked up the scab, put it on his thigh, and flipped it with a finger so that it flew away and landed on the edge of the carpet. The enormous red and black and yellow carpet that stretched the whole length of the hall, from the stairs on which he sat to the front door in the distance. A tremendous carpet, bigger than the tennis lawn, much bigger than that. He regarded it gravely, setting his eyes upon it with mild pleasure. He had never really noticed it before, but now, all of a sudden, the colors seemed to brighten mysteriously and spring out at him in a most dazzling way. You see, he told himself, I know how it is. Yeah. The red parts of the carpet are red-hot lumps of coal. Yeah. What I must do is this. I must walk all the way along it to the front door without touching them. If I touch the red, I will be burnt. As a matter of fact, I will be burnt up completely. And the black parts of the carpet, yes, the black parts are snakes. Poisonous snakes. Adders mostly, and cobras. Thick like tree trunks round the middle. And if I touch one of them, I'll be bitten and I'll die before tea time. If I get across safely, without being burnt and without being bitten, I will be giving a puppy for my birthday tomorrow. He got to his feet and climbed higher up the stairs to obtain a better view of this vast tapestry of colour and death. Was it possible? Was there enough yellow? Yellow was the only colour he was allowed to walk on. Could it be done? This was not a journey to be undertaken lightly. The risks were far too great for that. The child's face, a fringe of white gold hair, 2 large blue eyes, a small pointed chin, peered down anxiously over the banisters. The yellow was a bit thin in places, and there were 1 or 2 wideish gaps, but it did seem to go all the way along to the other end. For someone who had only yesterday triumphantly traveled the whole length of the brick path from the stables to the summer house without touching the cracks, oh, this carpet thing should be not too difficult. Except for the snakes. The mere thought of snakes sent a fine electricity of fear running like pins down the backs of his legs and under the soles of his feet. He came slowly down the stairs and advanced to the edge of the carpet. He extended 1 small sandaled foot and placed it cautiously upon a patch of yellow. Then he brought the other foot up, and there was just enough room for him to stand with the 2 feet together. There! He had started. His bright oval face was curiously intent, a shade whiter, perhaps, than before, and he was holding his arms out sideways to assist his balance. He took another step, lifting his foot high over a patch of black, aiming carefully with his toe for a narrow channel of yellow on the other side. When he had completed the second step, he paused to rest, standing very stiff and still. The narrow channel of yellow ran forward, unbroken, for at least 5 yards, and he advanced gingerly along it, bit by bit, as though walking a tightrope. Where it finally curled off sideways, he had to take another long stride, this time over a vicious-looking mixture of black and red. Halfway across, he began to wobble. He waved his arms around wildly, windmill fashion, to keep his balance, and he got across safely and rested on the other side. He was quite breathless now, and so tense he stood high on his toes all the time, arms out sideways, fists clenched. He was on a big, safe island of yellow. There was lots of room on it. He couldn't possibly fall off. And he stood there, resting, hesitating, waiting, wishing he could stay forever on this big, safe yellow island. But the fear of not getting the puppy compelled him to go on. Step by step, he edged further ahead, and between each one, he paused to decide exactly where he should put his foot. Once he had a choice of ways, either to left or right, and he chose the left because, although it seemed the more difficult, there was not so much black in that direction. The black was what had made him nervous. He glanced quickly over his shoulder to see how far he had come. Nearly halfway. There could be no turning back now. He was in the middle, and he couldn't turn back, and he couldn't jump off sideways either because it was too far. And when he looked at all the red and all the black that lay ahead of him, he felt that old, sudden, sickening surge of panic in his chest, like last Easter time, that afternoon when he got lost, all alone, in the darkest part of Piper's Wood. He took another step, placing his foot carefully upon the only little piece of yellow within reach, and this time the point of the foot came within a centimeter of some black. It wasn't touching the black. He could see it wasn't touching. He could see the small line of yellow separating the toe of his sandal from the black. But the snake stirred as though sensing his nearness, and raised its head and gazed at the foot with bright, beady eyes, watching to see if it was going to touch. "I'm not touching you! You mustn't bite me! You know I'm not touching you!" Another snake slid up noiselessly beside the first, raised its head. 2 heads now, 2 pairs of eyes, staring at the foot, gazing at a little naked place just below the sandal strap where the skin showed through. The child went high up on his toes and stayed there, frozen stiff with terror. It was minutes before he dared to move again. The next step would have to be a really long one. There was this deep, curling river of black that ran clear across the width of the carpet, and he was forced by his position to cross it at its widest part. He thought first of trying to jump it, but decided he couldn't be sure of landing accurately on the narrow band of yellow on the other side. He took a deep breath, lifted one foot, and inch by inch he pushed it out in front of him, far, far out, then down and down until at last the tip of his sandal was across and resting safely on the edge of the yellow. He leaned forward, transferring his weight to his front foot. Then he tried to bring the back foot up as well. He strained and pulled and jerked his body, but the legs were too wide apart, and he couldn't make it. He tried to get back again. He couldn't do that either. He was doing the splits, and he was properly stuck. He glanced down and saw this deep, curling river of black underneath him. Parts of it were stirring now, and uncoiling and beginning to shine with a dreadfully oily glister. He wobbled, waved his arms frantically to keep his balance, but that seemed to make it worse. He was starting to go over. He was going over to the right, quite slowly. He was going over, then faster and faster, and at the last moment, instinctively, he put out a hand to break the fall, and the next thing he saw was this bare hand of his going right into the middle of a great glistening mass of black. And he gave one piercing cry as it touched. Outside, in the sunshine, far away behind the house, the mother was looking for her son. That's the end.
Bravo. And
Thank
as a dialect coach, I must say,
Brilliant.
nicely done.
Well,
That was great.
It was rough. It was just watching a lot of BBC.
Well, whatever works, you know.
Man, well done. Well done, my friend. That was wonderful. Wonderful.
Thank you, Ryan.
Fantastic. Okay, Ryan, have a good night, my man. We will see you soon, and have no fear. We'll call you soon.
Okay. Happy
We-
Halloween.
Happy Halloween, buddy. See you later. Okay, we're going to do something very fun. So I'm going to share this lovely tidbit with you folks. It's very spooky. Okay, here we go. This is our friend. She's in LA, Lindsay Syme. She pre-recorded this for us because she was filming, and she was a part of a horror movie in LA. So look at her. She's working and she's doing her thing. So here we go with a piece from Lindsay Syme.
I felt a funeral in my brain, and mourners to and fro kept treading till it seemed that sense was breaking through. And when they all were seated, a service like a drum kept beating till I thought my mind was going numb. And then I heard them lift a box and creak across my soul with those same boots of lead again. Then space began to toll, as all the heavens were a bell, and being but an ear. And I, in silence, some strange race, wrecked, solitary here. And then a plank in reason broke, and I dropped down, undown, and hit a world at every plunge, and finished knowing then.
Oh, creepy,
creepy.
creepy critters.
That creepy Emily Dickinson.
I'm having so much fun. This
my.
is showing off some of our state's greatest talent, ladies and gentlemen. These are people from Nebraska or who have come to Nebraska and gone to college or school and have now went off into the world and have become professionals. This is great stuff. So, okay, with that said, I'm going to show you something that's completely unlike what I just said. Today, my daughter and I, we made a short movie, and I would like to show it to you. And my son performed the music. He wrote the music for it. So I'm going to pull this up because I think that everybody's really going to like it. And I'll let you be the judge. Okay. Okay. It's called The Haunted Toe. Let's see what happens.
Are you ready for dinner, Joss? Honey, what you doing? Let me feed the dog. Oh, I see. The reason why this problem is wrong is because you forgot to highlight it. Okay, you done with your snack? Okay, it's time for bed. I'll get your bed ready. Radio away.
Danny, honey, time for bed.
Jack? Was that you?
What?
Jack!
What?
Was that you?
No, it wasn't me.
Is there such thing as a haunted toe? Abe Lincoln had a haunted toe? Check, check, check! Abe Lincoln had a haunted toe.
What?
Reading this article, and I think he has a haunted toe.
Just like the one that's been haunting us.
Yes!
Good Lord Almighty. Did you see that? Annie, well done.
Very nice job, Annie.
I'm Sally from Nightmare Before Christmas.
You see
You
that?
look wonderful.
I didn't know she liked suckers. That's incredible. Well, that was so much fun. We had so much fun putting that together.
I didn't know that Abe Lincoln had feet like mine.
Yeah.
I did his mustache.
Oh, that's incredible. Okay, we have a very special treat, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to welcome our friend on, who's probably one of Nebraska's finest songwriters and who works with the agency quite often. And we're so happy that he's on board with some of the shows that we find. And people call us for great musicians all the time, as well as actors. So we get a lot of calls for different kinds of people. And so if you're watching this out there and you want to be a part of the agency, get a hold of us, because we do get a lot of calls. It's pretty fascinating. But unfortunately, not a lot of stuff's happening right now, especially for the musicians. And so we thought we'd have Mr. Gunter Volker on. Is he with us? Can you hear us, Gunt?
Hello.
I hear you guys.
Oh, hey, buddy, what's up, man?
Do you hear me? That's the real question.
Yes, we can hear. We can hear you loud and proud, my friend.
Too loud?
Okay.
Or, is it all right?
It's all right. It's all right. Oh, we're
Okay,
gonna
good.
give you the stage, man. We're gonna give you the stage and play us one of your songs, man. Let's send these people for a little fall time vibe. Here we go.
Thank you guys for having me. Take off my headphones. I don't need them when I'm playing. Just need them when I'm talking to somebody. I'm gonna play two songs for you guys. The first one I'll play is one by Townes Van Zandt that I've been thinking about. I remember hanging out on a friend's porch one time, and they asked me to play a Townes Van Zandt song. And you know, Townes has a couple different kinds of songs. And I said, "Do you want one of the, you know, like normal ones, or do you want one of those spooky haunted ones?" And they said, "One of the spooky haunted ones. I don't know what other kind there is." This one's like probably the spookiest, hauntedest town song I can think of. Hey mom, when you leave, don't leave a thing behind. I don't want nothing, can't use nothing. Take care into the hall, and if you see my friend, tell him I'm fine. I'm not using nothing. I almost burned out my eyes, threw my ears down to the floor. I didn't see nothing, I didn't hear nothing. I stood there like a block of stone, knowing knowing all I had to know and nothing more. Man, that's nothing. As brothers, our troubles are locked in each other's arms, and you better pray they never find you, 'cause your back ain't strong enough for burdens double fold. They crush you down, down into nothing. Being born is going blind, dying down 1,000 times to echo strong on pure temptation. Sorrow and solitude, these are the precious things and the only words that are worth remembering. That's Nothing by Townes Van Zandt. Now I'll play you guys one of mine. Hopefully this is doubly appropriate because this song it's fiction, but it takes place in Lincoln. Tobias, I keep my last name to myself. I robbed the service station on 13th and South. I had lost my straight job, and so had Kathleen. Hers and my supply had run out of methamphetamine. Brother's pistol, but he had moved away, and in the crawl space it remained patient for that day. The girl behind the counter, no more than 24, that old jack of diamonds was tattooed on her arm. The button, but she must have moved too sharp. I pulled the trigger, turned around, and ran into the dark. Follow your headlights, mind not to go too fast. Hear that pistol sharp see its blinding muzzle flash. I don't know if I killed her, the papers didn't say. I dialed the station's number one time, but I hung up right away. And sleep comes too quickly, and I don't like what I dream. Being alone is pretty damn hard, but it's harder when you're clean. I don't know when they'll find me, but I know it will be soon. They'll find me in a fallow field. I'll be howling at the moon. This is my confession, but it also is my plea. Won't you redirect Kathleen if she's asking after me? Thanks, guys.
Yes. Oh, I'm so happy you did, Tobias. Yes, I love it. Thank you so much. And I adore your collection of murderous tools. I adore your collection of murderous tools in the back. And I thank you so much for doing that Tobias song. That's an incredible song. One of my favorites. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you, man. My great pleasure. Thanks,
Beautiful.
all you guys.
Beautiful. Love you. Happy Halloween.
Mwah, mwah, mwah.
Mary, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
Oh, he was great.
Isn't that incredible? These are the Nebraska artists that we keep talking about. This is the kind of caliber of performance that we see and that the world is now enjoying. They're from all over the world. So I would like to welcome my friend, Mr. Adam Jeffries from Los Angeles. So let's do that now. Hello, Adam.
Well, hey there, Mike.
Buford.
There's been a little bit of a change of guard, I guess you could say. I'm Buford. Well, I'm Buford, but somebody wrote in there Boo. I'm not going to correct it because it's Halloween tomorrow. So I'm just happy to be here and wanted to share a little ghost story from my past.
Well, I hope Adam's okay, and just send our blessings, but we'll give you the time instead, Mr. Buford. Take it away, my lovely.
Thank you so much, Mr. Simrad, and great to see you too, Mary. I don't know if we ever met before in the past, but I'm pretty sure we did. All right then. All right, I guess here it goes. When my sister Betsy and I were kids, our family lived for a while in an old farmhouse. Pretty charming, yeah. Oh man, we loved exploring its dusty corners and climbing up that old apple tree in the backyard. But I tell you what, our favorite part was the ghost. Yeah, we called her Mother, because she seemed so kind and nurturing. Some mornings, Betsy and I would wake up, and on each one of our nightstands, there'd be like an empty cup sitting there that wasn't there the night before. Kind of weird. But we just assumed Mother left them there. Word that we'd get thirsty in the middle of the night, I think she just wanted to take care of us, if you know what I mean. Oh, man, amongst some of the house's furniture was an antique wooden chair, which we kept on the back wall of the living room. Man, whenever we got preoccupied watching TV or playing some games, Mother would move that chair forward, across the room, toward us. Whew. Get a little goosebumps on me just thinking about it right now, but sometimes she'd manage to move it all the way to the center of the living room, you know what I'm saying? Oh, we always felt sad pushing it back there up against that wall again. I think Mother just wanted to be near us. I think that's what it was. Anyway, years later, long after we'd moved out, I found an old newspaper article about the farmhouse original occupant. It was a widow. Well, she murdered her 2 children by giving them each a cup of poisoned milk before bed. Can you believe that? And then she hanged herself. Ooh-wee! She murdered him. Well, anyway, the article included a photo of the farmhouse's living room with a woman's body hanging from a beam. Man, beneath her, knocked over, I kid you not, was that old wooden chair, placed exactly in the center of the room. Jesus, what was that? Oh my God, did you see that?
Whoa, that was awesome. I hope he's okay.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. This is so amazing. Oh, that I might need to take a little break and go clean myself after that. That was wonderful. That was great.
Buford's okay.
That was beautiful. I hope to God Boofer's all right. He seemed pretty. He was very adamant about. Wow, I don't know what to say. I'm still shaking.
I loved it.
That was Adam Jeffries from Los Angeles, professional actor extraordinaire. He does some incredible things. And we're going to stick with the LA theme. I'm going to invite my dear, one of my dear best friends from Los Angeles, Mr. Ryan Bergman. Ryan Bergman, hello, my friend.
Hi, Ryan.
Hello. How's it going?
Good. Things are well, my friend. You are a celebrated director. Tell the people a little bit about yourself before you start.
Tell us.
Tell us. I moved out to LA to act, and now I direct and produce theater out here. Well, I did, before the pandemic when we couldn't do any theater. But like we're doing things like this now all the time. So yeah, that's what I do.
That's amazing. Well, let's turn it over to you, my friend, Mr. Ryan
Absolutely.
Bergman, ladies.
Thank you. So, a little personal story for y'all. So let's see. So my fiance Chris and I, we rent this small house together, and we live alone. It's important to point out. So maybe it was like 5 years ago. Chris and I were like just laying in bed. It was some morning. It was like actually kind of late in the morning, like 9:30 or 10, something like that. I'd been awake for a bit, and Chris was just waking up. And we lied there, talking about whether or not we should get up yet, or maybe try to go back to sleep for a bit, since we both had the day off, and it'd be nice to catch up on some sleep for a change. And he was lying on his back, like looking up at the ceiling, and I was on my right side, facing him while we talked. And in that position, I had my back to our bedroom door, which was like maybe 8 or 9 feet behind me. Okay. So all of a sudden, this weird feeling came over the entire room. Like, seriously, it felt like the air in the room was like just suddenly like sucked out, or maybe it was just like really, really heavy. And it almost felt like I was underwater, or like gravity changed or something. I felt like the air in the room was like pressing down on top of my body, while at the same time like slowing down time and making me like dizzy and loopy, and like my ears were popping. It's really weird. And I thought it was just me, so like for a second I wondered if I was like maybe having a blood pressure drop or something like that. And that happens to me from time to time. The results aren't usually like that, but I had no idea what was happening. But then I hear Chris say in a really freaked out voice that sounded like it was really hard for him to breathe, and like he was just really struggling to get words out. He said, "Do you feel that too? Like, what's happening?" And that was when I realized that absolutely something insane was happening, because here we are both feeling this exact same thing that shouldn't be happening. It was crazy. And then I tried to speak, but everything came out like slurred, and I had to like force the words out of my mouth just to say I don't know, I can't move. And he said, "I can't either." And I saw him trying to like turn on his side and trying to like raise his arm up, and he obviously couldn't. And I tried to raise my arm up too, And I couldn't. And it was just bizarre. It was like being underwater, I guess, or like, being in a really intensely pressurized room. I started to try and push myself up to see if I could sit up, and I couldn't do that either. I was just too heavy. And then we both heard the doorknob of our bedroom start turning. And it was turning over and over again, almost like someone was trying to come in, but they weren't like jiggling it or like even actually trying to open the door. It was like actually turning in a rhythm. It was turning, back and forth and back and forth, and like a metronome, like a Beatles song. I mean, it's deliberate. It sounded like it anyway. And we were terrified. At first, I thought, obviously somebody had broken in, but I couldn't figure out why they would, turn the doorknob back and forth like that, especially because our bedroom door has no lock on it, and they could just open it and walk right in. We couldn't move. That weird heavy gravity thing was holding us down still. And I was obviously trying to, and I could feel that Chris was trying to too. But all I was actually able to do was really slowly turn my head over my shoulder and see the doorknob turning. I could actually see it. Then we both heard it. Singing. Two kids' voices. It sounded like a pair of little girls started singing a song that I could not understand. The only clear thing I could hear was like the last word at the end of all the stanzas was dancing. So let me clarify this, what I'm trying to describe here. These two young girls' voices were singing an almost sort of like nursery rhyme type song outside of our bedroom door while turning our bedroom doorknob back and forth to match the tempo of whatever it was they were singing. And the doorknob's going chick, 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 as these little girls' voices are singing, something, 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 dancing. Something, 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 dancing. Yeah. And they were singing in a way that was kind of like, playful and taunting. Like if they were two little girls who were like trying to tease their older sibling or their mom and dad or something, like, by coming up to the room and shaking the doorknob and singing at them. Just to tease them, or, the song almost sounded like made up, like kids do. They make up little songs, or like silly or playful or whatever. I don't know. I'm just trying to explain what it sounded like. It also sounded like they were laughing, or they were like trying not to giggle while they were doing the singing, taunting thingy. So as this is all going on, I'm watching the doorknob turn as these voices sing at us. And near the end of the song, I turn my head, back in slow motion, because that's as fast as I can turn, to see Chris, to see if he's actually hearing and seeing the same things that I am. And I can see that he managed to turn his head too, and could also see the doorknob. And the look on his face was just, I'll never forget it. His eyes were just so huge. I've never seen him that scared or shocked or anything like that ever in my life. And his face was just white, just totally pale. And then the song ended. It was short. It was like maybe like 4 stanzas or something like that. And the doorknob stopped turning on the very last word of the song, dancing. And all at once, that heavy weight that had been like holding us down, making it so hard to breathe and move and everything like that, it just went away. Just like that. But suddenly we can move again, and the gravity all felt regular. And it was seriously all over in like, 10 seconds maybe. It felt like forever, but 10 seconds. And Chris sat up and was like, what the hell was that? What just happened? And he jumped over me and like raced to the door and like yanked it open, and nothing was there. We don't have a hallway or anything like that. It's just a small house, just opens up onto the living room area. And he just looked out there and he's like, nobody out here. And so I got up and I checked myself, and sure thing, no one was there. The house was empty except for our 2 cats, which were all the way on the other side of the room, up against the wall, like still hissing and like growling, like, they must have heard it too or seen it or something. No idea. And from that spot right in front of the bedroom door, all the way through the like living room, the dining room, and out to the kitchen door, there was this like trail of heat. I don't know how else to describe it. It's like a trail of heat. The air just felt hot and like gross and oily, and you could almost see like a haze, like a fog, going from our bedroom through the house to the kitchen door. We checked both the front door and the kitchen door, and they were locked from the inside. So yeah, we both sat down on the bed and we were just shaking, and we kept asking each other, "Did that really happen?" We both heard the same thing, right? And and yes, we both felt the air pressure thing holding us down. We both saw the doorknob. We both heard the singing. So it obviously wasn't some kind of hallucination or something. The only difference was that Chris understood a couple more of the lyrics of what they were singing. Not that many, but he said it sounded to him something like, "And we'll get you a dancing," or "And you will go a dancing." I don't know. It was just so freaky and creepy. And to be honest, the way the little girls' voices sounded, they didn't sound like creepy or mean. They seriously sounded like two real little girls who were just having fun and teasing us inside our locked house. It didn't feel or sound malevolent or anything like that. It just still creeped us out. It's never happened again, but we are still freaked out about it to this day, and we do not close our door when we go to bed. Yeah, that's it.
Wow, that was so great. Oh my gosh. For real. That is wild. Thank you so much for sharing, Ryan. That was really fantastic.
And creepy.
My pleasure. It was creepy. Trust me, you're right.
My wife Carrie has a thing with horror movies and kids being in horror movies. And
yes, that makes it worse.
It makes it worse. And
it does.
Especially singing kids. I always think back on watching Elm Street and with the kids singing in the front yard. 1, 2, we're coming for you. 3, 4, better lock your door. Come on. It doesn't get any freakier than that, and I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry you went through that. That is
well. Thank you. I survived, awesome. So it's okay.
You look great. You look great. You have a very pandemic woolly look has done you good.
Yes, this is my pandemic look. My pandemic
and
hair.
You just
nice.
Yeah,
thank you.
You just visited Nebraska. It was so great to see you for the few minutes distance that we could. It was awesome, and I love you so much. And thank you so much for doing this tonight.
Thank you, Ryan.
My pleasure. Really, I love you guys.
It means the world. Thank you so much, buddy. We'll see you around. Thank you, man.
Okay, bye, guys.
Have a good one. We'll talk later.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. Wow, I am thrilled. I'm thrilled with the way this is going, and I hope you guys are too. Please comment in and let us know what you think. It means the world to us to hear it and see it. So,
agreed.
Mary, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm having a great time.
I see you eating popcorn.
I see
you backstage eating popcorn, and I love it. Actually, when you started eating popcorn, I smelled popcorn in my house, and I don't know if that was a haunted thing or not. But Carrie must have made a popcorn upstairs, and I don't know what happened, but that was
this is the perfect thing to do when you're listening to scary stories. Just have some popcorn. We put some M&Ms in it too, so they got all melty.
I know my mom always used to put the candy corns. She was big on the candy corn. Betty loves, still to this day, loves candy corns.
I like me the little pumpkins that are the candy corns.
Oh yes, I forgot about those. Yes,
my students gave me a bunch of Halloween candy today, so I've been eating it, to be kind.
Oh, well, sure, of course.
Yeah,
that's very nice of you.
I'm always thinking of others, Michael.
You are a fortune. So I'm excited because we cast a lot of different people in things, and a lot of people in different age brackets, and some of those age brackets, sometimes people call us and they want younger people. And I was so fortunate. My daughter Annie got cast in a commercial. When was it? Last year, maybe?
Last year. Mm-hmm.
And she worked with.
It was last October, actually.
Right. And her co-part in that commercial, it played her older sister. Her name was Sydney Hendrickson. And I met Sydney at the audition process, or actually it was at the fitting for when they fit them with clothing. And I fell in love with this girl, and I fell in love with her family, and she is just so fantastic. And she's in horror movies, she's in commercials, they use her for beautiful photography, she's a model. And I'm so happy that she wants to call Mid-America home, because we're absolutely going to use her. And she's a usable talent. I mean, she is the most talented young person coming out of Omaha that I've seen thus far in a long time. So I'm so excited to invite her on. Let's see if she's available. Hi, are you with us?
Guys.
Sydney.
Hello. Fantastic.
Thank you so much for all the kind words. I'm so excited and so honored that I get to be a part of this.
Oh,
We're thrilled to have you. Thanks for doing it.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yes. Well, we're going to give you the stage and let you can do your thing, but I want people to seek you out because you are talented and your Instagram's super funny. And so do it to it. Have fun. Thank you so much for being here. All right. Take it away, lady.
Thank you. Okay. Hi, guys. I'm Sydney, and I'm going to be reading you guys 2 special spooky poems. I don't have very many ghost stories because I don't really have that many experiences with ghosts. But the first poem I'm going to read is called The Witch with the Twitch by Jamie Warner. This story is one that will scare you, so please listen up. I dare you. Long, long ago lived a scary old witch. She walked with a limp and talked with a twitch. She lived in a dark cave all by herself, along with the snakes, bats, and rats on the shelf. One day, a small child was wandering around when she walked in the cave and fell to the ground. Though the darkness she felt was something squirm, with the light she had seen all the worms. She crawled a bit further, and her hands got all muddy. But when she looked closer, she saw they were bloody. So she stood up and screamed and then turned to leave. But her nose caught a stench that caused her to heave. When the witch heard the scream, she ran out to see this little girl crying, scared as she could be. So the witch snatched her up and ran through the hall, past all the potions and jars of eyeballs. The witch sat her down and then sat beside her, opened her mouth and fed her a spider. The girl wasn't happy. She must have wanted sugar. So the witch picked her nose and fed her a booger. The girl spit it out. She was mad as could be. The witch said she'd leave if she'd just drink some pee. She guzzled it down and left in a hurry, back home to her family before they could worry. And that was the first poem I was going to read. And the next one is a poem that I wrote myself. So let's read. In Nebraska, there's a city named Blair. A sweet young girl named Sydney lived there. She met a nice man, and she held him so dear. The poor girl thought she had nothing to fear. The boy visited Sydney early one day. With a ring in his hand, to her he did say, Sydney, my sweetheart, you must come with me. You asked me to marry you. Now you will see if truly my bride you really will be. He led her through the woods and into the shade. Then he turned to the girl and pulled out a blade. Young Sydney asked, Why have you led me astray? He replied, I mean to kill you today. I beg you, said Sydney, please spare my life. I promise I will not force you to make me your wife. I'll leave you alone so you will be free. Just please have mercy and you will see. He took a quick second to think for a bit, but before you knew it, he took a big hit and she buried his body in a shallow pit. Sydney walked out and she said with a smirk, I knew you were all along a big jerk. If I find the evil men and slowly reel them in to every single wicked guy, I promise you, I will see you die. Thank you so much. And that's the end of my poems. Bye.
Bye. You're adorable.
Oh,
You're just adorable.
fantastic. And you wrote that last piece. You wrote it. Oh my God. I'm just
Nicely done.
Fantastic job. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Oh my
And
God.
have a spooktacular Halloween, everybody.
You too.
Bye, sweetie. Take care.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Oh
you,
my
Sydney.
gosh, what a doll. What a doll.
She's adorable.
Oh my gosh. Okay, we are moving on. Sydney, thank you so much. Tell your parents hi for me. Okay, so we have in our midst, in my opinion, I went to the University of Nebraska, and I was in a few theater productions, and I had the fun opportunity of being in those productions, and I got to meet some really fantastic people. And our next guest was one of these people, and I always thought she was so elite. Like she was so talented, astute, and smart, and one of those people that when you're around, you can just kind of feel it. You're just like, wow, this person is committed. She's like in it to win it, and one of the most talented people. Her name is Amy Raffa, and she lives in New York City. Welcome, NYC. Hello, Amy.
Amy! Hi, you guys.
Awesome. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks for those really kind words. You
Man, I'm not blowing smoke. I always thought you were one of the most talented actresses at the college, and you were in a lot of stuff, and that's why you got cast in a lot of stuff, So
agreed.
Yeah.
That's so nice. I also played Mary's daughter in a production of Picnic many years ago.
That was so fun. You were so
so fun. I'm so pleased to be here. I'm just tickled that you invited me.
Oh,
we're tickled that you're here.
I hope to do, I hope we can kind of use this platform in the future to introduce some writers and maybe do some staged readings. And I can't wait to use some of our talent to do that, because like here we are, we're sort of abandoned online, and this medium is really all we can use now without kind of being around people, which is so bizarre to say. This is our bubble. So I think we should use it to our advantage and introduce some things down the road. And I can't wait to use people like Amy Raffa and some of these folks that I read tonight. So this is kind of a nice introductory, thing that we might do more of. So anyway,
Terrific.
We're going to give the helm to Amy and let her do her thing. How about that? Okay.
Thanks. I have 2 short stories tonight. The first is called The Annoying Neighbor. I used to live in a small building downtown. One of the reasons I moved out was the bad neighborhood, including this guy in the apartment right over mine. He was a weird-looking fella who always kept to himself. And around midnight, there was frequently a strange noise that got on my nerves. To be fair, the noise wasn't loud, but I'm a light sleeper, so it was hard to get my eyes shut with those little bumping sounds going on and on. After a few days, I realized the pattern was always the same, like a recording playing over and over with random intervals in between. That went on for many months. Always the same sequence of bumps, slowly tattooed into my mind, sometimes for hours during the night. It was several years later, helping my daughter with her homework, that I learned a little bit of Morse code. She knocked on the table with her knuckles, and a shiver immediately went through my spine as I recognized that exact pattern. When I asked her what it meant, she laughed. "It's the easiest one, Mommy," she said. It's the one to call for help. Second story is called New Home. After much planning and a lot of saving, a young woman and her boyfriend were finally able to purchase their own home. The house itself was exceptionally old and in need of a lot of repairs. Luckily, the woman's boyfriend was quite handy with construction work and offered to convert the kitchen into the master bedroom himself. While he worked on dismantling the kitchen, the young woman set to work, peeling off the wallpaper the previous owner had used to cover practically every inch of every room within the house. It was long, tedious work, but the woman turned it into a game, seeing how long the wallpaper would peel off before it ripped into pieces. While she was peeling, the woman began to notice that every room had a person's name and date written on the walls underneath the wallpaper. Intrigued, the woman searched on the computer using one of the names and realized that the person in question was a missing person. The corresponding date was, in fact, the date that person had gone missing. After doing more research, the woman and her boyfriend finally contacted the police. As a group of officers set up a crime scene, the young woman overheard a forensic investigator murmur, "Yes, this is human." The woman walked over to him and asked him what he meant. The investigator turned to her and said, "Ma'am, the material you were peeling off the walls, it isn't wallpaper."
Okay, ew.
Oh,
Just ew.
what? That was crispy.
Yes, crispy. Yeah, ew.
Nice and crispy. Oh, okay.
So
You always find surprises when you're redoing your house. I can't even tell you. It's always a surprise.
yeah, I think always watch out for that because
Yeah, could be wallpaper, could not.
Yeah,
be
one never knows.
No, one doesn't.
I think my apartment in college actually had Dorito walls, like like they're made of Doritos.
Did they have the names and the dates of the people that ate them?
Yeah, they were dated.
In case you just
Doritos.
need a late night snack.
So they were missing Doritos.
They just went full scratch and sniff wallpaper. Yeah. Man almighty. Yikes. Well, thank you so much, Amy.
Well done.
Wonderful.
You are welcome.
Yes. Thank you so much. And take care in New York City. I can't imagine what you've gone through in the last 6 months. So
we are all in this together, folks.
Absolutely.
All in this together.
I'll be contacting you in a few months. So
yes, please do. And Mike, your kids' movie was adorable.
It was adorable.
I know. And Jackson, Jackson wrote the music for that. My son wrote the music for that.
Super talented, just like their parents. Okay, you guys have to move on, I know. So, mwah. Thank you.
Thank you, honey. Take care.
Bye.
Much love. Have a good night in New York City.
Thanks.
Take care.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Wow. So we have some fun friends.
Oh my gosh.
We really do. We really do.
Yeah.
We're blessed. We are blessed. So let's welcome on our next amazing friend. She's a local Lincolnite who actually I went to high school with. This is an interesting story. She and I were in a couple productions in high school together. And we later kind of bumped into each other, I guess you could say, in Lincoln, and kind of became friends. I mean, like we've become the greatest friends. So like this is, I sat with her last night and reminisced about crazy people in high school, and it was so awesome. It was so
nice.
Great. And so let's welcome her on. Sarah Zolkowski, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello, Sarah.
Hello. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Wonderful. Mike, I think our friendship really was rekindled because you would give me free cheesecake at Spaghetti Works.
Spaghetti Works. I was going to bring that up, but I didn't know if I should.
It's a good way to
It's not
rekindle
open
things.
anymore, so I don't think you can get in trouble. But
No, they
really
closed, and here's the thing about that is that was kind of like, when you're waiting tables, they always say, if you need to use that, use it. And I always felt like I needed to use it. I mean, you'd come in with your husband at the time and you would enjoy spaghetti. And what better to top your night off with a piece of other than a piece of cheesecake, free cheesecake nonetheless. But oh man, yeah, my days at Spaghetti Works, I could go on and on. Gee whiz, that's where it all started.
You justify it any way you need to, Michael. I've got your back.
And you
give away free food.
You see,
right.
You see my mustache, ladies and gentlemen. I got that at Spaghetti Works. You see that? You see that?
Very Italian. I like it.
We used to rub marinara and hot naked on our. They called it.
Oh, that sauce is the best. Okay.
Remember that oily hot naked sauce? It was
love
like
the
olive oil, butter, and a bunch of basil.
It was just fat. It was delicious.
Yeah.
So good.
Oh, jeez.
I used to get half and half, the hot naked and something else on it. I think it was the clam. I don't know.
Red clam. Oh, that was a good combo. Anyway, I don't know how we got down that rabbit hole.
I don't either, but
I think it was my mustache.
Yeah.
My mustache here.
That's it, your stash.
Okay, so let's give it to Sarah, ladies and gentlemen. Sarah Zokowski, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Well, tonight I'm going to read an excerpt from a little lovely, very old, scary story called The Lost Ghost by Mary Eleanor Wilkins Freeman. And I encourage you, please go look up this entire story. It is a beautiful, scary story. And the reason I chose this is because it very much reminds me of the bedroom at the top of the stairs at my grandparents' farmhouse growing up that I absolutely loved, but I was terrified of ghosts the entire time. Even as a teenager when I would stay there, or as a 20-year-old or 30-year-old, still scared of ghosts. And this story very much reminded me of that little favorite room. So here's The Lost Ghost, edited by myself, by Mary Eleanor Wilkins Freeman. Well, I went there to teach school, and I went aboard with a Mrs. Amelia Dennison and her sister, Mrs. Bird. Abby was her name. Abby Bird. She was a widow. She never had any children. I had been there about 3 weeks before I found it out, though I guess it had been going on ever since they had been in the house, and that was most 4 months. They hadn't said anything about it. Well, I went there in September. I remember it was a real cold fall. There was a frost, and I had to put on my winter coat. I remember when I came home that night, I took off my coat downstairs, and I laid it on the table in front entry. It was a real nice coat, heavy black broadcloth trimmed with fur. Mrs. Bird called after me as I went upstairs that I ought not to leave it in the front entry for fear somebody might come in and take it, but I only laughed and called back to her that I wasn't afraid. I never was much afraid of burglars. Well, though it was hardly the middle of September, it was a real cold night. I remember my room faced west, and the sun was getting low, and the sky was a pale yellow and purple, just as you see it sometimes in the winter when there's going to be a cold snap. There was a fire in my little wood stove. Mrs. Bird made it, I know. She was a real motherly sort of woman. She always seemed to be the happiest when she was doing something to make other folks happy and comfortable. Well, that night I sat down beside my nice little fire and ate an apple. I was having a beautiful time and thinking how lucky I was to have got board in such a place with such nice folks, when I heard a queer little sound at my door. It was such a little hesitating sort of sound that it sounded more like a fumble than a knock, as if someone very timid, with very little hands, was feeling along the door, not quite daring to knock. For a minute I thought it was a mouse, but I waited and it came again. And then I made up my mind it was a knock, but a very little scared one, so I said, "Come in." but nobody came in. And then presently I heard the knock again. Then I got up and opened the door, thinking it was very queer, and I had a frightened feeling without knowing why. Well, I opened the door, and the first thing I noticed was a draught of cold air, as if the front door downstairs was open, but there was a strange, close smell about the cold draught. It smelled more like a cellar that had been shut up for years than out of doors. Then I saw something. I saw my coat first. The thing that held it was so small that I couldn't see much of anything else. Then I saw a little white face with eyes so scared and wishful that they seemed as if they might eat a hole in anybody's heart. It was a dreadful little face, with something about it which made it different from any other face on earth, but it was so pitiful that somehow it did away a good deal with the dreadfulness. And there were two little hands spotted purple with cold, holding up my winter coat, and a strange little faraway voice that said, "I can't find my mother." "For heaven's sake," I said, "who are you?" The little voice said again, "I can't find my mother." All the time I could smell the cold, and I saw it was about the child. That cold was clinging to her as if she had come out of some deadly cold place. Well, I took my coat. I did not know what else to do. And the cold was clinging to that. It was as cold as if it had come off ice. When I had the coat, I could see the child more plainly. She was dressed in one little white garment made very simply. It was a nightgown, only very long, quite covering her feet, and I could see dimly through it her thin little body mottled purple with the cold. Her face did not look so cold, that it was clear waxen white. Her hair was dark, but it looked as if it might be dark only because it was so damp, almost wet, and she might really be light-haired. It clung very close to her forehead, which was round and white. She would have been very beautiful if she had not been so dreadful. "Who are you?" I says again, looking at her. She looked at me with her terrible, pleading eyes and did not say anything. "What are you?" says I. Then she went away. She did not seem to run or walk like other children. She flitted like one of those little filmy white butterflies that don't seem like real ones. They are so light and move as if they have no weight. But she looked back from the head of the stairs. "I can't find my mother," she said, and I never heard such a voice. "Who's your mother?" says I. But she was gone. Well, I thought for a moment I should faint away. The room got dark and I heard a singing in my ears. Then I flung my coat on the bed. My hands were cold as ice from holding it, and I stood in the door, and I called first Mrs. Bird and then Mrs. Dennison. I didn't dare go down over the stairs where that had gone. It seemed to me I should go mad if I didn't see somebody or something like other folks on the face of the earth. I thought I should never make anybody hear, but then I could hear them stepping around downstairs, and I could smell biscuits baking for supper. Somehow the smell of those biscuits seemed the only natural thing left to keep me in my right mind. I didn't dare go over the stairs. I just stood there and called, and finally heard the entry door open. I heard Mrs. Bird tell Mrs. Dennison, "Come quick, Amelia. Something is the matter in Miss Arms's room." It struck me then that she expressed herself rather queerly, and it struck me as very queer indeed when they both got upstairs and I saw that they knew what had happened, or that they knew of what nature the happening was. After they told me all they had to tell about their experience with the child, they told me about the house and the people that lived there before they did. It seemed something dreadful had happened. It was an awful thing. That child had lived in the house with her father and mother 2 years before. They had come, the father had, from a real good family. He had a good situation. He was a drummer for a big leather house in the city, and they lived real pretty, with plenty to do with. But the mother was a real wicked woman. She was as handsome as a picture, but she was bad clean through, though she was really pretty spoken and most everybody liked her. She used to dress out and make a great show, and she never seemed to take much interest in the child, and folks began to say she wasn't treated right. They said that the woman made that little thing, though she wasn't much over 5 years old and small and babyish for her age, do most of the work. They said the little thing used to stand on a chair and wash dishes, and they'd seen her carrying in sticks of wood most big as she was many a time, and they heard her mother scolding her. The father was away most of the time, and when that happened, he had been away out west for some weeks. There had been a married man hanging about the mother for some time, and folks had talked some, but they weren't sure there was anything wrong, and he was a man very high up with money, so they kept pretty still for fear he would hear of it and make trouble for them. Well, one morning, that man that there had been whispers about went missing. He had been gone quite a while, though, before they really knew he was missing, because he had gone away and told his wife that he'd go to New York on business and might be gone a week, and not to worry if he didn't get home. Then folks began to ask, where was that woman? And they found out by comparing notes that nobody had seen her and the man that went away. Well, there was this house shut up, and the man and woman missing and the child. Then all of a sudden, one of the women that lived the nearest remembered something. She remembered that she had waked up 3 nights running, thinking she had heard a child crying somewhere, and once she waked up her husband, but he said it must be the Bisbee's little girl, and she thought it must be. So she didn't think any more about it until this came up. She told what she had heard, and finally folks began to think they had better enter that house and see if there was anything wrong. Yes, they found that poor child there, starved to death and frozen, though they weren't sure she had frozen to death, for she was in bed with clothes enough to keep her pretty warm when she was alive, but she had been there a week and she was nothing but skin and bone. It looked as if her mother had locked her into the house when she went away and told her not to make any noise for fear the neighbors would hear her and find out that she herself had gone. Well, I stayed, and I never knew when I'd see the child. I was very careful to bring everything of mine upstairs and not leave any little thing in my room that needed doing, for fear she would come lugging up my coat or hat or gloves, or I'd find things done when there'd be no live being in the room to do them. I can't tell you how I dreaded seeing her, and worse than seeing her was hearing her say, "I can't find my mother." It was enough to make your blood run cold. I never heard such a living child cry for its mother that was anything so pitiful as that dead one. It was enough to break your heart. Now I'm coming to the strangest part of it all. Mrs. Bird died very sudden. One morning, it was a Saturday, and there wasn't any school. I went downstairs to breakfast, and Mrs. Bird wasn't there. "Abby ain't feeling very well this morning," says Mrs. Dennison. "There isn't much the matter, I guess, but she didn't sleep very well, and her head aches, and she's sort of chilly, and I told her I thought she'd better stay in bed till the house gets warm." It was a very cold morning. Well, we went on eating our breakfast, and all at once a shadow flickered across one wall of the room and over the ceiling, the way a shadow will sometimes when somebody passes the window outside. Mrs. Dennison and I both looked up, then out of the window. Then Mrs. Dennison, she gives a scream. "Why, Abby's crazy," says she. "There she is out in this bitter cold morning, and she didn't finish, but she meant the child, for we were both looking out, and we saw, as plain as we ever saw anything in our lives, Mrs. Abby Bird walking off over the white snow path with that child holding fast to her hand, nestling close to her as if she had found her own mother. "She's dead," says Mrs. Dennison. "My sister is dead." She was. We hurried up the stairs as fast as we could go, and she was dead in her bed and smiling as if she was dreaming. And one arm and hand was stretched out as if something had hold of it. That child was never seen again after she went out of the yard with Mrs. Bird. The end.
Creepalish.
Please go look up the whole story, The Lost Ghost, by, she has 4 names, Mary Eleanor Wilkins Freeman. This is a very shortened excerpt. The whole story is so beautiful and scary. And I'm scared sitting in my basement in the dark.
Oh my gosh. So Mary Eleanor, what was it?
Mary Eleanor Wilkins Freeman.
Wilkins. I'm spelling it wrong. Wilkins Freeman. That's close enough. People will find it.
Yes, The Lost Ghost.
The Lost Ghost. Thank you so much for reading that. That was great. And performing it. Wonderful. Wow.
Thank you so much.
That is a creepy scene you have too.
Yes, my spooky candles in the back. I'm scared sitting here. It's cold. I'm scared.
Well, I hope you don't feel any shadows on the walls and any strange whispers.
Oh no, I do. I'm gonna run up the stairs because I feel it on my spine. I will run up the stairs and turn on the light as quick as I can. I will not walk.
Like a cartoon.
No, that will be me running up the stairs.
Right. Those little toes. Okay, do it to it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You and Mary, 2 of my favorite people. Omni Arts Nebraska, thanks you so much for having me. And we're so happy to sponsor this event. It has been absolutely wonderful. I know you have to go. I'm so excited for the next couple things coming up. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarah. You were wonderful. Lovely as always.
And real quick, tell us about your show. You have a show opening.
Yes. Omni Arts Nebraska is so excited to finally be back in live theater. We have not been on stage since last January.
Wow.
And we are bringing Burn This by Lanford Wilson to the stage at Johnny Carson next Thursday through Sunday. Plenty of shows to come see. The Lead Center is wonderful and follows excellent safety protocols. We're so looking forward to see people in the theater again next week.
I can't believe you did this for us when you have a show opening next Thursday. That's incredible.
I'm just reading lines. I'm running lines.
I know, but thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking time, and you're a beautiful individual. Thank you so much, and I can't wait to reminisce again about our crazy days at Spaghetti Works in high school. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Happy Halloween.
Have a good night. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween, Sarah.
Oh my gosh, we are very, very lucky people to be blessed with some talented folks. And
I agree.
And here we are. We're kind of coming to the end of the program, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for everybody tuning in. And like I said, make sure to comment on this video and at least give us a thumbs up and a love sign or a heart or whatever you want to do. But let us know that you're out there and enjoying it. And I hope you're sharing this as much as possible. Make sure to share it with your friends. This will be on the YouTube page and the Facebook page forever. So you can share it later. If you saw something you really liked, you can actually watch it again. And so that's the hope. Maybe tomorrow night. Tomorrow's Halloween, ladies and gentlemen. So you can watch these all over again. So we are very, very blessed to have some of the most talented individuals in the state join us tonight. And our next guest is one of those duos. They have a full band called the Wildwoods, but tonight Noah and Chloe Ghost are going to join us and bless us with a couple tunes.
That's a treat.
Yeah, let's see if they're around. Knock, knock, knock. Are they available? Hello.
Hey guys.
Hey, there they are. What's up? I know I got you on a slender version, but it'll widen out here in just a second.
That's good. Slender then.
Yeah. How are you guys? Good to see you.
Good. We're doing great. How are you guys doing?
Fantastic. Things are awesome. Well. Thank you so much for being here. Now, absolutely. I just want to say that I first saw you guys, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think you were like 15 years old.
Let's see.
I think you were ever 15. When we first met, I met you guys at Roots Music. It was kind of like an open jam. It was like a songwriters in the round, and there was this brilliant pedal steel player that was older, and there was like a bunch of people playing these incredible instruments, and you two got up and sang some songs. I think you sang some Johnny Cash songs.
Yeah.
I know.
We were definitely 15 then.
Yeah, I think you were like 14 or 15 years old, and you were even then you were sweethearts. Like you were together, you were together, and now you're like Nebraska's sweethearts. Everybody knows you as that. It's just fantastic. And
Nice.
and when I saw you guys, I saw so much potential in you. I was just enamored. So thank you so much for. It's been awesome, is what I'm trying to say, to see you blossom into what you've become. And you're
Oh, well, thank
incredible
you so much, Mike.
songwriters and players, and one of my favorite people. So thank you so much for being here tonight on this program.
Oh,
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely.
thanks for having us.
Yeah, for sure. And I hope this, gets out to some people, because you guys are the kind of people that we put to work. I mean, like if somebody calls us and says, I need a duo that can just knock the socks off of anybody, you're one of the first people I reach out to. And this is what I'm saying. This is what the agency is important for, right?
Of course.
We need to just put artists back to work, and and to work, so it's been a little devastating. I'm sure you felt it too.
Oh, yes.
The Bottle Tops, with my wife and I, we play about 70 shows a year, and I think we played maybe 15, maybe 10, 15 so far this
Yeah,
year.
it's been
So,
crazy.
yeah, so I hope people not only donate to the cause tonight, but also donate to the Wildwoods, and reach out to the Wildwoods website. And they have unbelievable merchandise. They have hoodies. They got like stocking caps and mugs. You guys are like merchandise geniuses,
It's all Chloe.
Yeah.
No.
Well,
She's the genius behind that.
oh yeah, someone wants to say hi to Chloe.
Hi, Annie.
Hi, Annie.
She takes
Yeah.
fiddle lessons, and she's become quite the fiddler. So, well,
Nice.
we just want to say thank you so much for being here tonight, and take it away, the Wildwoods.
All right. You want to take these off? All righty. Well, thanks for tuning in. We're very glad to be contributing to this cause. Like Mike said, we are the Wildwoods from right here in Lincoln, Nebraska, and we're going to play you some original tunes. When I get to feeling fine, I'll come around. The voices in my head are bringing this old fella down. Whenever I feel blue, you're there knocking on my door. I wonder what the hell she's waiting for.
When I get to feeling better, I'll speak first. Maybe I'll say something with the time of those eyes closed. You have seen me at my worst, you've held my hand and hit reverse. It's my time to do the same for you.
Yeah, life is kind of funny when you think about it, honey. You work all day and night and still you ain't got no money. You try to dream big when you feel so small. As long as I'm with you, I have it all. If you want to grow old with who you love,
Swallow your damn pride and let that cat get your tongue.
well, I'd rather die young with someone that I love than grow old knowing I was not enough. Yeah, life is kind of funny when you think about it, honey. You work all day and night and still you ain't got no money. You try to dream big when you feel so small. As long as I'm with you, I have it all.
Maybe I just wasn't right for you. I dreamt too big and it came true.
And where you drew the line for me, it crossed my heart in agony. I'm out here on my knees trying to stand against the breeze. I'm begging you, please. Yeah, life is kind of funny when you think about it, honey. You work all day and night and still you ain't got no money. You try to dream big when you feel so small. As long as I'm with you, I'll have it. Darling, I'm a fool without it. Long as I'm with you, I have it all. All right. I think I'm going to turn us down a little bit. I think we were clipping a little bit. All right. Okay.
Nice.
Which one are you going to do next, Cole?
Okay, the next song we're going to do is a gypsy jazz tune that Noah wrote that he doesn't want to play, but I'm making him play because marriage is about compromise. And I'm always right in the compromises. So we're going to play one. We actually played it last night for Noah's junior. Why did I say like that? Junior recital at UNL. He's a composition major, and he had to write 50 minutes worth of material just for this specific concert. So this is one of the tunes he wrote. And it will be a Wildwoods tune where we sing eventually, but for now it's just an instrumental, and it's called Cherry Picking.
All right. Forgot the changes during my solo. But...
You did beautiful.
All right.
Okay, let me just make sure I'm in tune really quick.
This next one.
Sorry.
It's all right. This next one is called Like My Old Man. And it's just about loving Mother Nature and not being mean to Mother Nature.
Mother Earth.
Mother Earth, of course, yes. I say like my old man, and tonight I visited my father, and he showed me all of his new trees. He's obsessed with indoor trees, and he recently acquired 6 little indoor trees. Very cool. He's a master trimmer, so if you ever need your trees trimmed, I know a guy. All right. Like my old man, I'm the son of the earth. When my mother calls like the song of a bird, I'm the first to harmonize, and I'm the first to realize I could have never been born. And now by some small chance, in the palm of her hands, I've risen through the storm. Forgive my innocence of what I've said and done. It may just be where I come from that taught me how to live as one. Or am I just too young and dumb? I don't know.
My old man, I will remember my roots. I will continue to grow on the land that I sow, among the flowers and trees. Floating along the gentle breeze, I hold my head up to my ear and fight through every fear I may face. She's helping me with every race. Forgive my innocence of what I've said and done. It may just be where I come from that taught me how to live as one. Or am I just too young and dumb? I don't know. Forgive my innocence of what I've said and done. It may just be where
I come from that taught me how to live as one. Am I just too young and dumb? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. All right. Then we're going to do one more song. This one's called Thought of Romance. Thank you so much for tuning in, for helping out Mid-America artists. We are the Wildwoods from
Yes,
Lincoln,
I hope.
Nebraska.
I don't know if we're supposed to play longer or less, but I hope one more song is okay.
One more song's cool. Have fun.
Oh, nice. Okay, good deal.
What did he say?
I think he said one more.
Oh, cool. Okay.
All right. This one's called The Thought of Romance. Ready?
Yes. Oh, I started this.
Oh, wait.
Walking in Paris, France, holding hands, laughing about love and the thought of romance. Talking about civil wars, crooked doors as it pours down on our heads, left in ruins. Home lives another spirit entwined. Our innocence had brought tears to their eyes. Show me what love is, and goodwill shall come. The message to which we've been known has come on now. Oh, 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 oh. Waiting in shallow streams, her and me whispering dreams and a future of bliss. From her tongue and lips, like mortar between bricks, she took a breath and I lived again. On lives another spirit entwined. Our innocence had brought tears to their eyes. Show me what love is, and goodwill shall come. The message to which we've been known has come undone. I know. Walking in Paris, friend, holding hands, laughing about love and the thought of romance. Oh no!
All right.
I think I missed the key change. Actually, that I messed you up.
I thought I missed the key.
That was beautiful, guys. That was really beautiful.
Oh,
Are those, is that original songs?
Yep.
Those all original songs?
Yep.
Wow.
These
That's
are
a
all
beautiful.
all ones that have come out of quarantine.
Yeah.
that we're working
Out of,
on.
oh, really?
We're-
Oh,
yeah, we're-
nice.
We're trying to get enough tunes to hopefully record an album, hopefully at the end or the beginning
It's,
of next year.
the taste is very jazzy. You're kind of falling into a very jazzy approach. I love it. It's very cool. Wow.
Yeah,
Beautiful stuff.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mike.
Man, images of Paris, France, and wow, it's really, really fantastic work. Thank you so much for being here tonight, you guys.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us.
Awesome. Some of Lincoln's favorite people and my favorite people and the agencies. I keep forgetting to bring Mary.
And I'm
on.
like, I'm right here.
I know. She's like our fortune teller. She's a fortune teller, and
I matter.
and
Yeah,
I'm-
get tired.
I matter. I know.
Fortune tellers matter.
Well, you know what it is. You know what it is, Mary. It's my mustache. I just can't get over it.
Nice. I love it.
I can't get over.
I
the
almost didn't recognize you. I was like, who is this person trying to impersonate Mike Semrad? What's going on? It's the thing.
I know. It's and I get to talk and it's the mustache's fault. But thanks to the Wildwoods, everybody. Thanks for
great.
Thank you for coming on. Much love to you. Please give to the organization so we can put them to work, and give to the Wildwoods. Don't forget they have a merchandise page on their website it's fruitful, ladies and gentlemen. It's so fruitful. There's so much stuff on there. I can't believe how much merchandise you have. It's incredible. I think soon you're going to start selling animals. You're going to start. Yeah, that's the plan. You're going to
Caterpillars.
the Wildwoods caterpillars. I want one of those.
Very nice.
I'd buy one of those. Well, much love to you too. Thank you so much, and we'll see you around. Thank you so much. Happy trails. Happy trails.
Excellent.
Happy Halloween, guys.
Halloween.
Oh my gosh, we're so blessed. Wonderful stuff.
are.
So here we are. That was the end of our program, and thank you so much for people tuning in and that have tuned in for the whole program. We've had viewers and donations come in. We're so happy about this.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah.
I can personally say in my life it's been quite hectic because of the political season. I own a marketing company in my free time.
Yeah.
And it's been very crazy.
What is this free time you speak of, Michael?
I know. And I'm so happy that I was able to find time to put that movie together and to be a part of this production. And Mary, thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. That's right.
It is what it is. It's a beautiful thing. I was going to tell a ghost story, and I want you to maybe sit through it. Is that okay? Can I freak you out for a second?
Do it.
Okay, so I'll make it quick because I want everybody to visualize real fast the corner of 17th and J. I believe it's J or G. I want to say it's J. 17th. There was 2 homes there, larger homes. They were brick homes, and they're no longer there. They tore them down. But this would have been, let's say, around 2003 that I had quite the experience with these homes. So the way I'll tell the story is this. As many of us did in college, we would stay up late and have fun, right?
I did just a couple times.
Yeah, just a few times.
Try it out.
And we happened to be at a friend of ours' house late at night. It was probably 4 a.m, and we were walking back to our car. I was with my wife, now wife Carrie, at the time girlfriend, and we were walking back to our car, and we rounded the corner of 17th and J, and I looked at this house and I said, "Oh, that's kind of funny." And I was a little dazed and confused, and I was a little kind of out of it, tired and whatnot. And I said,
"Whatnot?"
I said, "That's crazy. That's how I got out. That's how I got out." And she looked at me and she said, "What?" And I pointed right at the house. It had a little side door that was kind of overcrept with bushes and weeds and whatnot. And there was a doorway that went down to the basement. And it was very scary looking. It was overgrown with vegetation. And I said to my wife, I said, "That's how I got out." And I was kind of tired. And I said, "Oh, never mind." And we got in the car. And she asked me about it the next day. She said, "What did you mean by that? What did you mean by that's how you got out?" And then all of a sudden it hit me in my sober mind. It said, "Oh my gosh, that was a dream, a reoccurring dream I kept having my whole life." And that was how I broke out of the basement. It was a nightmare that I kept having it was a reoccurring nightmare. And in the dream, I'm running through a hallway in the basement. And I break through a door and I look up and there's a doctor figure with his back to me working on a body in what's a human-sized cage, like a human-sized cage. And he turned and he looked right at me, and he had this kind of gruesome, gross face. And I turned around, just totally freaked out. And in the dream, I turned around, ran back down the hallway, turned a corner, and busted out a doorway. And it was this doorway that I saw on this house.
Oh, that's weird.
And so in my mind, when I saw it, it sort of clicked. And I said, wait a minute, that's it. That's how I got out. So fast forward maybe 2 months later, it was still sort of in my mind that I talked to Carrie about it. And I was working downtown. I was waiting tables at a place called Carrie O'Ryan's. It was a Cajun restaurant that was just very short-lived. It was a Cajun restaurant, fantastic Cajun food. And a fella that was the cook. I was a waiter. He was the cook. I went to grade school with him. His name was Robert Rocky, and him and I were in the kitchen together and just kind of talking. And I said to him, I said, Robert, do you know that house on 17th and J, that weird brick house? It's kind of abandoned now, and I think it's kind of a transient home, and it's and he goes, oh yeah. He goes, I absolutely know that house. When I was in high school, we used to break in there and kind of just mess around, and some rooms we'd open doors and stuff, and there would be like transients sleeping in there, and like bums would sleep in there and stuff like that. And he goes, we used to drink beer or whatever in there, and that was just it. We had this weird conversation. I was like, oh, that's interesting. That like abandoned house. And so a little time passed, maybe a couple hours passed, and I went back to waiting tables. He went back to cooking. And in the middle of the day, he stopped me and he goes, hey, Mike, that house we were talking about earlier? The weirdest thing about that house? He said, there's like this weird human-sized cage in the basement. And I said, wait, just wait right there. What did you say? What did you just say to me? That's funny. And he said, yeah, it's so strange. There's like this weird human-sized cage in the basement. I don't know why, but I feel like maybe they kept people in it, or like it's when we used to fiddle around in that house and kind of get in trouble, we'd break in and we kind of explored around the house, and in the basement, there was a human-sized cage. And I literally locked up. I could not go back to work. I physically could not go back to work. And I called my wife from Carrie O'Ryan's. I called Carrie and I said, you will never believe what this guy just said to me. And I explained it to her, and she goes, oh my gosh, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. Are you serious? He said there was a cage. You didn't prompt him to say that?
You didn't tell him about your dream?
I didn't tell him about my dream at all. I didn't mention my dream or the cage or the basement or my vision or any of that. I didn't mention any of it. And I said, I got home and I thought about it for a while, and I said, man, I'm just petrified. I'm scared about what just happened. And so fast forward like 2 months later, the house was up for auction. They were going to tear out the staircase and some of the woodwork in the house. And I showed up. I saw that it was happening, and I pulled over and I showed up. And I walked in the house, and there was a little lady, a little old lady that was kind of watching the sign-in book, people to sign in and kind of what they want to bid on and stuff.
Right.
If you wanted to buy the staircase or whatever. And I said, this may sound totally bizarre, but I don't really want to buy anything in the house. I don't want to bid on anything in the auction, but I just need to know, is there a steel cage in the basement of any kind? Can I just maybe go down there and look? And she was her back was against the basement door. And I said, and she turned around, she goes, I'm so sorry, my friend. She goes, that's so dangerous down there. It's a hard hat area only. We're not letting any people down there. And I said, oh, but you don't understand. I just need to know if there's a steel cage down there. And she goes, that's a bizarre question, but I don't think there is. But I don't know. I don't know. You can certainly walk around the side of the house and look through the window if you want. And so I did. I walked around the side of the house, and it was really dirty and murky. And I kind of, tried to wipe some stuff away. And it looked to me like there was something steel down there, but I couldn't tell what it was. So I still to this day, I don't really know. They ended up demolishing both of the houses next door to each other. And so, but a glimmer of hope, I met Lincoln's historian, and he studies history and he studies homes. So it's my due diligence to ask him about that, and I haven't got around to doing it. He actually did a study on our current home, and he found some really interesting history. So I discovered this guy, and so I'm going to ask him about the house. But anyway, that's my ghost story, and I don't know if it's a ghost story. It's just kind of twisted.
That is twisted. That's wild.
I know, but if I find out that there is a doctor that lived in that house, and there indeed was a steel cage in the basement, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself.
Yeah, I know that would freak me out. I think I know the name of that guy from you, because we owned a house on 16th and C.
Yeah,
it was definitely haunted, and I would like to know the history of that house. Like, I'm sure. I mean, it's over 100 years old, so it was built in 1907, I think.
Oh, really?
And I know it was on a row they called it Banker's Row.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So it was one of those houses, and on one of the bedrooms had 4 bedrooms on the second floor, and then they'd redone the attics so we had a bedroom and a sitting room. But in one of the little bedrooms on the second floor, it's this huge house, there was a lock on the outside of the door, like they would lock a person in. So, yeah, and all of us, even my ex-husband, would see, if you got up in the middle of the night and used the restroom, which was like, the bathroom was like right across the hall, and the door was open, you could see a male figure in that room at night.
Oh my gosh.
It was really creepy.
Oh my gosh.
Really, really creepy. And it was just like, and it had those like that, I don't know, it's like this paranormal drips that were kind of like sometimes you see like in your bathroom, if you take a shower and the condensation,
Oh, yeah.
This was just in the bedroom. It would just kind of happen. Like there would be drips along the wall.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. That was Camden's room. She was the nicest. So
yeah. Put the nicest daughter down there.
But then she started sleeping in the hallway when she was like 3, and we were like, "Why are you sleeping in the hallway?" And she was like, "I just don't want to sleep in there." And I'm like, "You know what? You're going to stay with your sister. We'll just make it a playroom."
Oh my God. Let's just make it a playroom.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that weird? But I just would like to know the history,
Yeah. Well, his name is Ed Zimmer. He's Lincoln's historian, and he's now retired, but he's still, obviously, he accepts emails. And I think he kind of like, he gets excited when somebody wants to hunt down the history of a house, and he's very, very good at it. I met him through Leadership Lincoln, and he did some exposés on some homes in Lincoln, and it was super fascinating. So I planned to ask him, and he dug up some history and deeds and stories and who lived in our house, because our house is very, very old, 1909, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And he dug up who lived here. There was a wedding in the backyard. He dug up like,
it's just cool to know that stuff,
Yeah, he dug up there was a man who died in the house. That's nice to know.
Right? They're supposed to disclose that, but I guess if it's so old, like
yeah, they probably don't. But but there was, he knows the names of families that lived here, and on down to like newspaper clippings and stuff that you can. He's a fascinating guy, and I think Lincoln needs to employ more people like him, because it'd be nice to like know all this history and preserve it. So he's doing a fantastic job. So I can't wait to ask him about that house. And you should ask him about that house.
I'm going to.
Ladies and gentlemen, this closes our evening. This has been an incredible experience, and thank you so much. I think next year, once the pandemic clears, I say we do this at the Ferguson house, and we tell some ghost stories. And Carrie had this great idea. She came down, she goes, "I got it. Let's do it at the Ferguson house. And then later we'll tour the house because it's so haunted, and we'll just make a night of it." So that's what we're going to do. We're going to make it an annual event. And I hope everybody tunes in and becomes a part of that on an annual thing. I loved the ghost book growing up. It's called Guide to the Ghost of Lincoln by Alan Boy, one of my favorite books growing up. And if you don't have it, go out and buy it. He's a Lincolnite. He wrote the book. His brother's Dave Boy from the band Shithook, which is incredible. Incredible band. So go buy that book, Guide to the Ghost of Lincoln. And there's like 3 or 4 different versions of it. So, but yeah, This has been fun, Mary. Thank you so much.
It's been so fun. Thank you, Mike.
Do you have any fortunes for our agency?
Well, great success in the near future.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I'll take it.
Okay.
I'll take it. And please don't forget to donate if you can. Donate to NEHOF. That's our PayPal. info@nebraskaperformingarts.com. And the Venmo is nice and easy. Some people have donated on Venmo. Thank you so much.
Yes,
Nebraska Arts @Nebraska Arts. Fantastic. And Mary, I love you. Thank you so much.
I love you, Michael. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. And take these stories to bed with y'all. Have fun, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you.
Night.
All right. Good night.